trying to refresh my camera, and in the meantime, Chuck joined me. Are you gonna go into the window? You just gonna sit here and wave your tail in my face? Okay. Well, we are back for our final Fall Harvest 2020 movie. It is November 2nd, so I'm a few weeks, no, I'm not a few weeks, I'm 2 weeks behind, and already Hallmark has premiered 8 new Christmas movies. I was actually doing the math because I realized if I watch a lot of movies back to back to back, I kind of start to hate them. Like, I can only take so much twee at once before I'm just so over it. And I realized, I think my last review of my best friend's bouquet, I think I was starting to get into that frame of mind, because I feel like maybe I sort of gave it the short end of the stick. Like, maybe it was better than I thought it was, just because I was so sort of sick of watching Hallmark movies that I judged it a little more harshly than it deserved, because I watched that one and then I immediately started the one that I'm going to review today, Sweet Autumn, and I had to turn it off. I knew immediately. I was like 3 minutes in and I'm like, oh no, I cannot do this. So I waited a week, came back to it, much better frame of mind, liked it much better. So now I'm thinking I probably would like My Best Friend's Bouquet better if I just had taken some more time. But with the Christmas movies, so it's November 2nd, so there is roughly, 53 days until Christmas, and they're premiering 40 new movies. So I would literally need to watch a movie every day in order to review them all in time, and I just don't think that's going to happen. Not if I want to go into them with a positive frame of mind. So I don't know how many I'm actually going to be able to get through in the next 2 months. I'll do my best, but we'll see, because I don't want to start crapping on them just because I've watched too many in a row and I've become completely jaded. But anyways, Fall Harvest is done, so this was the last one, so let me cover this, and then the next one we'll get into Christmas. I've got my tea here. I don't have a table or anything. I have like a table over there, but I never have anything to put my tea on or my drinks on. So I have to keep it on the floor, and the cats keep coming over and smelling it. Also, if you hear any really loud noises, it's very windy today. And I live on the top of a hill, so it tends to howl ferociously around the house. So if you hear any howling wind, just know that's why. That's what's going on there. All right. Sweet Autumn. I'm pretty sure I thought this was called Autumn Dreams. I named my drink Maple Dream, so I think I need to go and rename my drink Sweet Maple. Sweet Maple cocktail. Yeah. Anyways, tangent. All right. Sweet Autumn. I didn't have a lot of notes on this one because I guess I didn't hate it, I didn't love it. I was just kind of like, yeah, okay. Pleasant way to spend a couple hours. Don't have a lot to say about it. So really the plot is we have Maggie and her Aunt Dee. Her Aunt Dee raised Maggie and her sister Jody, and Aunt Dee has a candy shop, and she decides she's gonna throw a Sweet Autumn festival in her front yard, and little Maggie's like, but Auntie, you know, I wonder if she called her aunt. I should go back and listen to that, how they pronounced it, because in New England we say aunt, and I don't know if they called it Auntie, or if they called it Auntie. All right, I'm gonna pause here because I'm gonna insert a clip of me going back and reviewing this.
Where's your sister? Jody!
Auntie, look what I found. Cool, what is it?
Yep, Auntie instead of Auntie. All right, future me just cleared that up. But anyways, yeah, so her aunt decides she wants to throw a festival, and so she's just doing it like in her front yard. And it's like, yeah, you gotta start small sometimes. Just, I want to throw a festival. Someday it'll be town-wide, but for right now, it's just in my front yard on a folding table. And I love that. I love that energy. I love that just, baby steps. Start small and keep building and dreaming, and it's all gonna come true. I love that. I love that from Aunt Dee. And, well, anyways, fast forward to the future. Maggie's working in Minneapolis. Blech. Minneapolis. I wrote it down this time. I actually wrote it down. I'm like, all right, so it takes place in Brattleboro, Vermont, but Maggie's living in Minneapolis. Why can't I see that today? But anyways, and I guess she works for like an investment firm or something, so she invests in small businesses to help them, or gets investors for small businesses so that they can grow, which I love that. I love that. So we open with her trying to convince some lady who has a family-owned pumpkin business to expand, and she's on her way out because she's going back for the Sweet Autumn Festival in her hometown. And when she gets there, we learn that Aunt Dee has died, who died 6 months ago, and she had made this big deal about everyone not being like over emotional and letting it affect their lives. So she told him, for 6 months, no services, I guess they had a funeral, but like no mourning, none of that business. And then 6 months later, they all had to come back for her will reading, which was actually a video that she recorded for all of them. So they never actually say how Aunt Dee died, but she had time. She knew she was dying, so she had like prepared everything. So like everyone got a box of mementos that she'd handpicked out for them, as well as some other things. And then during her will reading, she leaves half her business to Maggie and half her business to Dex. Dex is a local farmer, so him and his father bought a farm nearby, sort of in the last year of Aunt Dee's life, and they became really close with Aunt Dee, and so Dex makes maple syrup, so she had begun using his maple syrup in her candies, and he began helping her out at the sweet shop. She ended up helping him out with the farm and helping them get to know the lay of the land. So before the will reading, Maggie had not met Dex because he didn't come to the funeral, but she'd heard a lot about him. And then they have a little meet cute outside the sweet shop, her first day back before the will reading, and then she officially meets him at the will reading. So in the box of mementos that Aunt Dee had left behind for everyone, for Dex and for Maggie, she left a set of letters that she had written for them to open each day of the Sweet Autumn Festival. Now, Maggie hadn't intended to stay the entire time of the festival. She'd only come back for a couple days for the first day of the festival and for the will reading. But when she sees the letter, she's like, I should stick around. And now that I'm half owner of this business, let me see how it's run. But she's also really exciting because, someone who invests in small family-owned businesses so that they can expand, she's all like, woohoo, we can expand this business, take it global. So she calls up her partner, Jonathan, and is like, hey, I have this opportunity to take my family's business global. I just have this other partner that I have to work on. And Jonathan's all excited, and they're like, great. So the first day of the festival, she shows up at the store to help out, and Dex is not having any of it. He's kind of a jerk, actually. And he immediately has to buy her out. Like, they don't even exchange pleasantries or anything like that. He's just like, yeah, I want to buy you out. Before they even had a chance to discuss or figure out what he wants, she wants with the business. But anyways, I guess, Hallmark movie only have 90 minutes to get to the end, so I gotta move it along. And she's like, no, I'm sticking around, and decides to stay for the whole week because of the letters that her aunt had written. And she's like, I'm going to be all up in your business this entire week, learning about the store, getting reacquainted. Because obviously she worked there. She grew up in that place. So she knew pretty much how it was run and all that kind of stuff. So she'd only been away for a few years. So she just needed to get up to speed on any changes that had been made the past few years. So of course, each of them are reading letters each day from Aunt Dee, she's basically meddling beyond the grave. She fully intended to set these two up and it ensured that it would happen, not only by giving them half the business, but then she would write these like suggestive letters. So like there was this one where she's like, she writes to each of them how they just need a little inspiration. Well, in town there happens to be an Inspiration Cafe, so they both go to Inspiration Cafe, and naturally they have to sit together and have some conversation. It's really funny. I love that whole ghost matchmaker kind of vibe. We do see Auntie a little bit at the beginning, but it's mostly the memory of Auntie. But I'm like, man, Auntie is killing it in this movie. She's got her fingers in every pie. Everyone loves her, adores her, comes to her for everything, and they nothing but good things to say about her, and she's still managing to change everyone's lives after she's gone. So I was like, yes, Auntie did it right. She really did it right. So as they get to know each other, learn a little bit more about each other, because Dex is very closed off, whereas Maggie's very open. So she's like, I'm trying to get to know you. You're giving me nothing. So she's throwing herself, I don't want to say throwing herself at him, because she's not in that sort of sense, but more like, tell me about yourself. I want to get to know you. I need more from you. What are your hopes, your dreams? What excites you? That kind of stuff. She's really trying to break through to him so she can understand him, because, they got to run this business together, so they got to get to know each other, got to become friends, partners, essentially. And he is not being very helpful. She does manage to break through a few times, and slowly with the letters from Auntie, they finally manage to break through and get to know each other a little bit better. And then one day they are roasting marshmallows, telling stories, and they kiss, and it was hysterical. Not the kiss. The kiss was sweet. I love when they don't build up the kiss at the end, where it's like you have this whole movie and then they have this swell of music and they finally kiss, like, oh my gosh. How over the top. They were roasting marshmallows and the kiss happened, and then they were both super awkward afterwards, and super awkward about it for days afterwards. Like, should we talk about the kiss? I like that. I like how they handled that. I should have started a clip of that, because I didn't grab a clip of that, but I could go back and grab a clip of that.
Can you pass a graham cracker?
Yeah. There you go.
Thanks. Hey, you know what? We still haven't talked about the deal.
Kiss. Deal. I just assumed that we were both avoiding it.
Well, if you want to talk about the deal, yeah, I'll be here.
And then, of course, everything's starting to work out. Maggie's starting to rethink about taking this global, because she's, now that she's back into the day-to-day of things and understand, like, ooh, I love this small town community. I don't know, how big is Brattleboro? I don't think of it as a small town. Vermont's not big, let's be honest. It's not a particularly large state, so even their large cities are small. But I have lived in small towns, so I'm pretty sure Brattleboro is a city and not a small town. But yeah, anyways, I've gone off. Where was I talking about? Completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh, remember, yeah. So she really likes the vibe of working in the store, getting to talk to people, all this kind of stuff. And she's starting to think maybe making it global and getting all those investors, maybe that's not really what she wants to do. And especially as she gets to know Dex better and understand his rationale behind not wanting to change anything, she's starting to think maybe there's something more for her here than there is in Minneapolis and her old job. So naturally, we're about 20 minutes from the end of the movie, and everything's going great when Jonathan shows up. That's right, he just marches in and starts being like, we're gonna take this business global. He's like, and because Dex is also into making his own maple syrup, which was being used in the candies, and so he's wanting to sell it and sort of start a little business there with his maple syrup. Jonathan's like, and we'll take your maple syrup and brand and launch that, and he's like talking billions of dollars or millions of dollars in industries, and he's just like throwing all this data at Dex, and it's like first thing in the morning, and he's standing there holding his coffee going like, what the hell is happening? And even Maggie's standing there saying, what the hell is happening? And I'm just like, Jonathan, isn't this your job? How could you misread a situation so badly? I'm thinking that your whole career is based on convincing small family-owned businesses to take their businesses and grow them and make them larger. You know, it's clear for Maggie that you need to be a little subtle. There's some hand-holding. You gotta sort of ease them into the idea and not scare them away with all of this overwhelming information. And Jonathan just bursts in there in his three-piece suit in this little candy shop in Vermont and starts blabbering on about the overseas market for maple candies. Apparently they're really hot in, I don't remember where he said, Japan, maybe? And obviously Dex is like, whoa, what the hell's happening? And he like walks off. And I was like, whoa, what the hell's happening, Jonathan? Like, and Maggie's like, what the hell's happening, Jonathan? She's like, I didn't give you permission to do any of this. He's like, well, I thought this is what you wanted, so I just took it and ran with it. And she's like, well, no, I was just still getting to know him and figuring out what we were going to do with this business. This is my family business. I don't know what we want to do with it yet. He's like, whoops. And she's like, yeah, big whoops. And then in a fit of pique, Dex signs the paperwork to sign over to sell his half to Maggie so that she can just take the store and he can just be free of it and not have to worry about any of this stuff, because he's like, it's all so overwhelming. But then he reads the last letter from Auntie, and she's like, you know, you need to write a letter to someone. So then he writes a letter of how much he cares about the business and Maggie, sends it to Maggie. Maggie reads it, and then she comes looking for him, and they make up and realize that they kind of want both worlds and come to the sort of compromise where she'll stay in Vermont and run the store day to day, but they're also going to sell on a website. So they're going to create a whole line of maple candies using Dex's maple syrup, and they're going to sell on the website, but it's going to look like the whole, like, maintain that whole Vermont feel, small store feel on the website. And she's going to stay in Vermont and sort of run the store in person as well as maintain that feel. And Jonathan will take it and run with it back in the city, and everyone's happy. And Dex and Maggie ride off into the sunset on a motorcycle. Well, actually, the sunset's actually nighttime, so they ride off into the dark on a motorcycle. Happily ever after. The end. So yeah, I guess I kind of liked this. I didn't love it, but I just liked it. So I don't have any criticisms, honestly. I don't have any criticisms. Hold on, let me consult my notes. Okay, I found a criticism. It's a small one. So regarding Maggie and Dex, Maggie, honestly, I loved her. She reminds me of my friend, and sort of her positive attitude, like, oh, you know, this is not what I was expecting, but I'm going to just embrace it. So when her aunt's like, you know, be a team player, she goes back to the shop, finds her name tag, and is like, all right, I'm gonna learn how to work in the store again, like I did when I was a teenager. Like, she was all in, embracing life, even the challenging parts of it. And I loved that. I loved how enthusiastic and mature she was about the whole thing. Like, you know, this is not what I was expecting, but I'm an adult. I'm going to figure out what I want from this and what it means to me before I make any decisions. So let me just dive right in. Dex, not so much. In fact, I believe my notes are kind of wrote down was, oh my gosh, Dex is kind of an ass. They have a meet cute. They do have a meet cute. He is fixing a motorcycle, and she's trying to call Jonathan, and she's like, so he's like keeps revving the engine, and I don't know if anyone who knows what it's like when motorcycles are revving their engines, especially when it's like 6 a.m. and you're trying to sleep on a Saturday morning, and you're like, what the hell? Seriously. But anyway, so he's doing that, and she's like, So she's like yelling on the phone to Jonathan, being like, there's some guys being really annoying or loud right now. And like that's when the edging cuts out, so he like hears her say that. So then he's like really pissed off. And she's like, I gotta go. And she's like, she never actually apologizes. She should have apologized. But then she's like, ooh, you know, I really like your bike. And then of course she knew what kind of bike it was. I mean, I didn't know. But she's clearly trying to make amends, you know. Like, ooh, I really like your bike. Are you having trouble with it? Maybe it's the spark plugs. And he's like, yeah, no. It's not the spark plug. It's the fuel line. And he like drives off. I'm like, okay. And then later, so she gets 50% of the store, the business. And so the first day, so she shows up the day of the first day of the festival. And there's another guy who works there, Zach. She's like, oh, you know, he's like, oh, this is just a bunch of stuff that needs to go out to be handed out. And she's like, great, I'll grab it. So she grabs it. And Dex is like, here, let me help you. And she's like, no, I got it. He's like, let me help you. And she's like, no, I got it. He's like, no, I'm going to carry this. She's like, I've got it. Like, he literally is like almost borderline physically assaulting her to take these things out of her hands. And I was like, whoa, dude, not cool. And that's when he decides to say, hey, I want to buy you out. I want to run this business of my own. Like, they haven't had any exchange except for that motorcycle exchange. And then obviously they saw each other at the wheel reading. Is he doesn't even say like, oh, how are you doing or anything like that. He's just like, I'm going to take those. No, I don't help. Let me do them. Let me do it. Let me take it from you. Let me take you. I want to buy you out. And I'm like, whoa, dude, slow your roll. That's just, gosh, can we just get a little bit of common courtesy? And then later, her next letter from her aunt is like, you know, try to slow down, focus on the little things, remember what it's like to make maple syrup. So Dex at his farm was doing this whole big maple syrup like training lesson, or, you know, for the tourists, for part of the festival. So she decides to go, and he's asking questions like, oh, does anyone know how much gallons of maple syrup or sap it takes to make a single gallon of maple syrup? And like no one knows. So she like raises her hand, and he like won't call on her. Finally he does. And she's like, it takes 40 gallons of sap to make 1 gallon of maple syrup. He's like, yeah, that's right. And so then he splits everyone up to go tap their tree. He's already drilled the coals. And so she's got her little spigot, her spout. And he's like, so city girl, do you think you can manage this? And I'm just like, oh. And she's like, yeah, I think it's interesting how you decided to tap the south side of the tree when everyone knows you're supposed to tap the north side or something like that. And he's like, what? It's like, dude, yeah. Not only does this woman know bikes, she also knows maple syrup. Maybe you can stop mansplaining to her. Yeah, he was, obviously by the end I liked him, but in the beginning he was a complete utter ass, and I did not like him. Actually, you know, I'm going to take it back. I don't like him. I don't like him. Those are major red flags for me. Major red flags. I don't care that he got there in the end. The fact that he thought it was even be remotely appropriate to treat her like that in any of those situations, no, not cool. So yeah, I do have a criticism right there. That's a big one. I don't like Dex at all. But you know who I loved? Zach. So Zach is the other worker at the candy shop, and he is so funny. He gets all the good bits. So like when Maggie and Dex are having like a standoff, he's like eavesdropping, and then he's like, nah, I gotta get involved in this. So he like walks right up and like barges into their conversation just so he can be a part of it.
You seem pretty confident about what Aunt Dee would want.
I'm just gonna grab these 2 jars that I definitely don't need.
Yeah, I love that. And then later he accidentally lets some information slip, and I love how he reacts to it.
And I break up with Heather, I mean.
Who's Heather?
He didn't mention it?
No, he didn't mention it because he doesn't mention anything.
Neither did I. Right. What time is it? Yep, that's it. Okay, clocking out. See you tomorrow.
Zach! Who's Heather?
Nobody!
Like, oh, look at the time, I gotta go. And then at the end, just like, at the end when they're like, ooh, it looks like they're about to kiss. They're leaning in, and he's standing right there. So he's like, you know, I'm just gonna.
Texas meat.
I'm just gonna go over there.
Oh, yeah. Zach.
Hey, Zach, wouldn't it be cool to have a new Aunt Dee's location?
That would be cool. Of course, we'd have to look at logistics and...
Isn't it also cool, Zach, that Aunt Dee's is the town's little secret?
That's also true.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, but also, isn't it true that Aunt Dee always loved when anyone anywhere enjoyed one of her treats?
Loved Zach. I did have a couple of costume notes, which were basically like right at the very beginning of the movie, and then I didn't make any more notes for the rest of the movie because everyone was dressed very normally. Very normal clothes. Nothing stood out to me as ridiculous or over the top or I don't say irresponsible, insensible, like not sensible, because everything just fit and worked and what you would expect to see people wearing. I did note at the beginning, so one of the opening scenes when Maggie is at work and she's talking to a client, she's wearing this beautiful, like, I want to say it's this like purple skirt, purple pleather skirt, and then this like purple blouse. I loved that. I was like, ooh, I want that for myself. And then later when she shows up in Vermont, she is wearing a short, chunky heeled booty, aka a completely sensible shoe for the time and place where this is happening. There's no stiletto in the field. It's fall, so she's got a booty. It's got a slight heel, but it's chunky. And so I'm like, look at it, here's someone who's actually dressed correctly for the time and the place where this is happening. I was like, what? Yes, thank you. At least finally we get some sensible footwear.
We're supposed to close. That's 3 months' work. What am I supposed to tell Stuart?
Hello?
But that was it. Then after that, I didn't have any more notes for the rest of the movie on the costumes. I think that's all I had to say. Did I have any other notes? I had some notes about maple bitters because they mentioned a drink made with maple bitters. And I was like, maple bitters? Is that a thing? I'm gonna have to look that up because yes, please. I mean, my drink's made with smoked maple bourbon. But you know what would make it just that much better? Some maple bitters. I wonder if you can order them online. All right, I'll look into that. If they exist, I'll put a link below. Hopefully they do. Yep. All right, so that was it. That was all I had to say on this movie. I know I said I liked it, but now I think I should take that back because of Dex's behavior. You know, maybe watch and decide for yourself. I think sometimes I'm a little too sensitive to noticing that sort of content. I've never been abused. Now, don't think that I've been in an abusive relationship. I have not. But anytime I see something where it seems like a guy might be abusive, my hackles are raised. So why don't you watch the movie for yourself, and maybe you'll be like, no, that seems completely innocent. You're completely wrong. And I'd be like, you know, fair. And you might love the movie. I enjoyed it except for that piece of it. But yes, if a guy's ever forcefully trying to take something out of your hands, that's a red flag. You do not have to stand for that. And on that very somber message for a Hallmark movie, get ready, because we're getting into the holiday season. What is it? What is the countdown to Christmas and the miracles of Christmas? Because this year I have movies and mysteries as well, so it means I've got all of the movies, and we've already had 8, and it's November 2nd. So I have to get into the holiday spirit because it's happening. Starting, not tomorrow, tomorrow's the election. So I have plans to basically drink and watch that go down. So not till Wednesday. will I be coming back to any of the Hallmark business. And I probably will need a Hallmark movie this weekend. All right. See you later. Nope, that's not just a trick of the light. My hair is actually green. It was supposed to be, like, it matches my shirt. It was supposed to be blue. I wanted to do a deep blue. But I think because of the bleach made my hair like yellow, and then you add the blue dye and you get green. So teal hair when I wanted blue hair, but whatever, that's fine.